Hi, kia ora year 12s. I'm just rolling through some videos, just going to pump a few out while I've got time. So I'm just going to explain to you now, again, another change in domestic, so New Zealand supply and demand, and hopefully reinforce that idea about us being a price taker, but also look at the effect that a change in local supply and demand can have on the market for different products. In this case, I've chosen lamb. So I've chosen the lamb market, and I want to look at us being an exporter. Again, this shouldn't be too earth-shattering to you. We're quite good at making lamb. It's nice, tastes good, and it's also relatively cheap compared to the world market. So just to reinforce a few things, price taker, the idea is we take the world price and that becomes our price. Before we trade, there's no trade at all. Imagine this mythical world, no imports, no cell phones, that type of thing. New Zealand, the price for lamb would be PNZ, so it would be here, it would be quite low. And this would be the quantity we sell. So this is like no trade, that's the price, and that's the quantity we sell. And then we open up to trade with the world, and we find out that, oh, this is the world price. Right, I've written it a bit differently, PW, WP, it's the same thing. Okay, so we take the price from the world supply and demand. So I'll just put this up here to show you again what it means by taking the world price. There's a world market for lamb. Many countries buy it and many countries sell it. And some of them are very big and some of them are very small. We're small, so we're a price taker. All right, so that means that we take the world price, and as a result, the local consumption falls to just here, 0 to QD, local consumption. And the local production increases from 0 to QNZ to 0 to QS, like this, local production. So not good for consumers in this case, because they have to pay a higher price and they consume less because it's higher and it's really expensive, and also because the rest, what previously was sold to them here, has been exported overseas. The local production, like the farmers are really happy because they're getting a higher price, and they're selling more, so their revenue's going up, and they're like, yay, we're making more revenue, and quite likely they're probably going to make more profit too. So that's what's going to happen here, and we export our surplus lamb to the rest of the world. Now, I want to show you what would happen if there was, like, say, a drought in New Zealand. It's very common in summer that we have a drought, and farmers get very upset and worried about this. And what would effect that have on the New Zealand market for lamb? So some of you I know have very little knowledge about practical things like this, but a drought is not good because it means there's no like grass for the lambs to eat. They get hungry and they won't put on as much meat, so they're not as like profitable to sell. And some of them might actually die because they've got nothing to eat. So it's not good for lamb production. It makes it harder, more expensive to rear the lambs because you have to bring in extra feed. And there is that case that you might have to kill off some of your stock because they haven't eaten enough and they're actually malnutrition. So it means you have less to sell and it's more expensive to sell what you have. So that means that we would likely see a decrease in supply. Now, normally, if we weren't trading, that wouldn't be a bad thing entirely, because if local production decreased and we're just using plain supply and demand, no world price, then the price in New Zealand should actually increase because consumers who want the lamb will bid it up. But that doesn't happen in this case because remember, our price is now the world price and we take it from the world market. And the only thing that can change the world price is if the world supply and demand changes. So therefore, the world price stays the same. There's no change in price, but there's less being supplied. So what that means is that production will fall. Okay, the quantity supplied will fall from QS to blue QS1, and as a result, the local production will decrease from 0 to QS1. All right, the local consumption will stay the same, but the amount that we export will fall from the black X to the difference between QD and QS1, which is X1. So a decrease in local supply is only going to cause a fall in the amount that we export. It won't change the world price because New Zealand doesn't get to change that price. The world says, send us what you've got, all right? You can't get any higher, and we wouldn't accept any lower, but that's the price we'll give. What have you got to sell us? So we can export all we want at that world price, and that's the idea of this being SW. I didn't put it in, I really should have. SW, supply world, and it becomes horizontal. The New Zealand supply curve becomes horizontal at WP. Okay, now you're probably thinking, what could cause the world price? All right, so the world price does change all the time. A really big country like America, if they were to increase their local demand, say China, so domestic consumption in those countries increase, they're really big, they're massive, they've got heaps of consumers, way more people than us. So they, in effect, could increase the world demand, and then that would increase the world price. Okay, so if it was land. Another one would be, I don't know about Australia, whether they would be considered a price taker. They are a bigger country than us, but let's go, I mean, again, the US, they do produce lamb. They do, have farmers who do that, and they're quite big. So if they were to increase their production and maybe add in, like Uruguay, they make lamb too, and a couple of other countries. So there was like significant increase in world production from like some big countries like the US, it's from Australia, maybe Europe as well, because they do lamb. These are big countries, and that would be enough to increase the world supply, okay, which would mean that the world price would fall. So if I just go from the original, this is the increase in demand, and with an increase in supply from A, the original, that would cause the world price to fall. Okay, but it doesn't mean that if New Zealand's supply was to increase, because we increase our farm production, that the world price will fall, because we're not that big. We're a small country in world trade, therefore we take the price from the world market. And the only reason that the world price is going to change is if world supply and demand was to change. Okay, and that's just a couple of examples. There are, big countries like China, the US, Europe as a bloc. They are big countries. They're not price takers. They do have the ability to kind of say, we want this. And because they're so big and powerful, their supply and demand can influence the world price. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. I'm going to probably just do one more. Will be kind of difficult, I'm not going to lie. Okay, so we'll see how we get on. Okay.